Our special guest on News Review today, former SG, Mr. Momodou Sabally. Welcome to the Fatu Network Commando.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Let's begin with money, since that's more your area of speciality. We've seen recently reports online saying that the Central Bank of the Gambia, under the leadership, of course, of Buaseidi, have reached an agreement with the Central Bank of Nigeria, allowing them to mint Gambia's currency. What does this mean, first of all? Let's break it down for everyone to have an understanding, because the implication of this could be very huge. What does this mean?
Well, start with, it's very alarming because Gambia has been minting her currency for years, and I think they've been consistent as to where to mint the currency. If the central governor of the Central Bank of the Gambia, all of a sudden, and I know there's enough stock at the Treasury for at least 2 years, all of a sudden our governor central bank goes to Nigeria unannounced, and an agreement is announced that we're going to change, and now money, like the physical money, is going to be printed in Nigeria. I think this is alarming. It's worrying. Why Nigeria? Why was it not drawn through a competitive process? Which other countries were considered? Why are we shifting from our traditional countries that are minting our currency? So these are all huge question marks, and we know when it comes to money, it's all about perception and sentiment. People trust that there is money at the bank. On the note, they will write, promise to pay on demand XYZ. It's just a concept. We know for sure when it comes to counterfeit in this country, like printing false money, if I may put it that way, which countries' nationals are mostly accused of this? We know it. So why Nigeria? What is the problem? What's going on? Because already we know our economy is highly unstable, depreciation of the currency. Then you go mint the country's money in Nigeria. I think it's going to cause a loss of confidence in our domestic currency.
What are the macroeconomic ramifications of this?
Absolutely. I think it's going to cause a depreciation of the dollar. Of course, whatever is happening in terms of counterfeit is going to get worse. Whether it happens or not, the public's perception, people will start holding foreign currency instead of the dollar. We've had that history in this country, and the current governor was there. We were all there when this thing happened. People were opening dollar accounts, and it's called dollarization. It's very bad for the economy. The economy is bad enough. We don't need to make it worse. Why on earth does Adama Barrow and his governor want to go to Nigeria to mint our currency? Very bad move. Totally alarming. Completely unacceptable.
And talking about, counterfeiting, alarms have been raised recently that there is too much fake money out there in this country. What do you expect the Central Bank of the Gambia to do in situations like these to control the situation?
Well, what would have expected was to further strengthen the security features of the dollar and either stay with the current country that's minting our currency or go to a safer zone. But from that to Nigeria, I think definitely that's really there's a huge question mark on this. I don't know what Barrow and his government is trying to do, because we know there are a lot of things that can happen when it comes to the printing of a currency. I think it's a very dangerous move. Central bank should reverse this particular move and go for a better country.
You served as Director of Budget for the Central Bank of the Gambia. Which countries are minting our Gambian currency right now?
I was Director of Budget at the Ministry of Finance, not Central Bank of the Gambia.
Yes,
I know we've dealt with a company called BlackBerry Wilkinson. I don't know which country. Of late, I've heard of Malta, but Nigeria, we've never been there.
Is that a safe place to mint a currency, Malta?
Well, we've never had problems with our currency. Gambia, the dollar is one of the most stable currencies in the world. So my thing is, there's this American thing, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right.
You're doing something, it's working, why do you want to change that? If you are changing, go to somewhere, because like I said, it's mainly about perception and sentiment. Why don't you go to a country where your domestic consumers, those who are acting in the economy, would have more confidence?
And now we've also seen concerns about the value of our money, the dollar. What do you think is happening to our currency?
Well, the economy has been suffering, and it's not now. I know anytime you mention this, they try to blame coronavirus. I think coronavirus...
Which we will come to later, by the way.
They try to blame the COVID, but the economy was already weak and was weakening further even before this coronavirus. Started off with excessive borrowing, the boneheaded decision to increase salaries by 50% at a go, of which I advised them against that. What happened? senseless increase of taxes, especially excise tax on institutions like Julbrew, that led to the closing of a company that's as old as the country. Right. So you've had all of these things, and now we're getting into an election period. You've had several rounds of supplementary appropriation, which is mostly not backed by tangible revenue sources. What happened? Government is borrowing and printing money, like borrowing from the central bank. What it causes is inflation, depreciation of the currency. People's livelihoods get worse. But this year, we've seen Adama Barrow and his government, instead of going to work hard and get the, what's the name of the thing, the pledge, the 1.5 billion euro, they've decided to sit down, rest on their laurels, borrow from the domestic economy. Definitely what it does is crowding out the private sector, would not have adequate access to resources. Even if they do, the price of those resources, with which the exchange rate is extremely high. So what that does, it causes macroeconomic instability. The economy cannot grow because government is taking resources. And by default, we know government does not spend wisely. So what they're doing, they putting laterite on the Hakalang Road and painting it because that's it. If you just put this red gravel and then you pour black tar on that, you're wasting public resources. The dividend will not come. Even if it is going to come, it's long term. So you're taking short-term loans for long-term development projects. It is definitely going to weaken your economy and people are going to suffer.
So talking about money and the coronavirus pandemic, I remember you are one of the first people who continued to call out the government of the Gambia, the Ministry of Health, to be specific over their handling of the pandemic, especially when it came to the COVID funds. What do you make of Malagan's investigation that the Ministry of Health used a whopping 2 million Gambian dollars to transport some sort of COVID vaccine from Bissau to the Gambia? What do you make of that?
A vaccine that was meant to be free. I think it's just symptomatic of the endemic corruption that characterizes this kleptocracy, the Barrow administration. I said from the get-go that Dr. Samate doesn't have the leadership skills to run this sector. People took it personal. They went and defended him. What happened last week? Somebody, I think staff of TRRC, goes to the hospital. He's asked to buy gloves that the nurses would use to inspect him. You know, this country is very funny. Once somebody is related to somebody or has a particular name, nobody wants that person to be criticized. So we have to commend Malagan for the investigation. The 2 million, there's another 2 million from an audit report I had. The Ministry of Finance bought credit $2 million is for teleconferencing. They're looting the treasury, and that's why I call Barrow and his gang squirrels.
Now, this is not the first scandal that the Ministry of Health has been caught up in. I remember, I think a couple of months ago, there were videos of their officials basically selling COVID-19 tests to travelers out there. What do you think the government of the Gambia needs to do at this point, considering all these allegations of corruption going on in the country?
But the government doesn't care. The government has practically legalized corruption. If a president who didn't have a proper one-bedroom apartment in his hometown can now boast of a twin-story buildings within 3 to 4 years, you know that government is corrupt. The Banja case, the fisheries bribery case, the audio that came out implicated both the minister and the PS, but it was only the PS that was punished. It's like a witch hunt. Malagan again went to the same Dr. Samate, asked for a breakdown of expenditure of COVID. He refused. So this is a government that's telling us, so I'm done with advising this government. The ones I advise, the people who voted them into power, go get your voters out and kick them out on December 4th.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned that Malagan went to the minister requesting for a breakdown of COVID-19 expenses, which never happened.
Yes.
How urgent is it for this country to have access to information bill?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I'm not even a fan of this access to information bill. I think the Gambia has the right laws by and large, but it's the implementation of the laws. And you have a government that doesn't care about the law, just does what it wants. I don't know how much that access to information bill can help people to get information from a government that's corrupt, that's hell-bent on being corrupt, and that's hell-bent on maintaining corrupt officials.
And now we are in the voter registration process. Like you said, if Gambians want the change, let them go out there and vote for whoever they think is fit to run this country. Now, the process, of course, have been marred by so many allegations out there. one of the things which raised eyebrows, of course, was the fact that the Lord Mayor of Banjul was issuing attestations to Banjulians, you know, but that is not the case because we've already talked about that. And now fast forward, CSO, Gambia participates, and of course the Center for Research and Development are now suing the mayor. What do you think about this?
Well, to be honest, I think what's happening is the things that raised eyebrows about this registration is not actually the mayor. I think the mayor is being unfairly targeted because she's UDP. And we know some of these CSOs are not all that independent. They all have their dogs in the fight. The most alarming thing for me in this voter registration was the fact that IEC was conducting voter registration in the home of the Minister of Local Government and Executive Member of the NPP. Unheard of. But the CSO will not sue the local government minister or the IEC for that. We've heard of clear-cut cases where foreigners came and they were registered, aided and abetted by members of the NPP. That's also not alarming. CSOs are not bothered about that, and several issues. Even the delay in issuing of voters' cards, all these machines breaking down, highly populated areas getting like drops in the ocean registration. The CSOs are comfortable about all of that. But a clear-cut, no-brainer case where alcalos appointed by the local government minister can issue association, CFOs who are openly political tools, issuing attestations. Who is the alcalo of Banjul is Rod Mayor Rahim Malik Low. But Rahim Malik Low cannot issue attestations because she's UDP. I think it's a witch hunt, and it's an attack on the person of Rahim Malik Low and an attack on the United Democratic Party. That is my opinion.
And still now people are thinking that, like you rightly mentioned, the number of people registering is just like a drop in the ocean because machines are faulty, like the queues are long, you know, whatever the case is. Now, are you with other people who say that the IEC should extend the voter registration, you know, period?
Well, I would not rush to do that. I think there were concerns in certain areas, like Gunjur was mentioned in particular, that the rate at which they were registering, it was too slow, given the population size. I think in such particular cases, the IEC should definitely ab initio make considerations for that. Other than that, I think what we should do is to appeal to Gambians who qualified to get registered, to come out and get registered, because this is very important. This is not just for the presidential election. National Assembly election is going to come. Local government is going to come. And I think it's important, having made a terrible mistake of bringing in Adama Barrow, the worst president ever in the Gambia's history, it should be everybody's concern to go and vote and elect the right person this time around.
And talking about the biggest hot topic last week on social media, that was your comment about the TRRC. Now, I know some people came for you saying that, you know, because they were all fans of SRFAL. And why did you, you know, issue that statement about the TRRC?
Issues. I think you're a bit late on the scene. It's almost a done deal now.
It's not a done deal for me.
One, two, I didn't make a comment about the TRRC. And I'll use this opportunity to clarify that. I didn't make a comment about the TRRC. I didn't attack the TRRC. I did not criticize the TRRC. I have every respect for the victims, and I think the victims should get what the victims want to get. Having said that, SRFAL is not TRRC, cannot be TRRC. He's not even a commissioner. He's not going to have the final say on the TRRC. SRFAL is a Gambian who is in the public office, and he's interested in the biggest public office of this country. So I have every legitimate right to criticize SRFAL, just like I criticize Lamin Jai, just like I criticize Mamburen Jai, just like other people criticize Usainu Dabo and our top executives. What is the problem? I'm the Gambian Silun Buga Defa Yomba. You want democracy in the chip, it's not gonna happen. In fact, I was gonna write an article on the rigors of democracy, Daradufi Yomba, because they want everything cheap. Don't. What I said is SRFAL as an individual is interested in public office, and that's quite obvious. There's an SRFAL fans club. He was going to have his inaugural meeting this past weekend, but I think my preemptive attack just destroyed that. I saw a news item on a public blog saying that he's going to launch his party now after the submission of the recommendations of the TRRC, which is what makes sense. I think it's completely wrong. For a lead counsel of an institution that is as sensitive as the TRRC to come out and get into the political ring even before the TRRC's work is done, I think it's completely unacceptable, and it will never happen in any country in the world except this country. So I said SRFAL should not run now. I didn't say he should never run. Not now.
Not now.
And even after the TRRC submits their recommendations, I think ESA should give a cooling period, because already this institution is being accused by some people, some segments of society, as being a political ploy. So if you have those kind of sentiments and you have the issue of the victims, I think ESA and his colleague Babagale Diallo should be patient enough and have enough care and respect for the plight of the victims, for them to stay out of politics, at least for a reasonable period before they jump into the fray. So I criticize Esa Fall. I stand by my criticism. I'm not changing that. I'm not apologizing. But I did not criticize the TRRC. I did not attack the TRRC. I have respect for the victims, and I think the victims should get what the victims want, because I am a victim too. Okay,
we're going to press the button on that, because part of the criticism that people were saying was that, well, okay, this guy says anything and everything. He's in fact a Jammeh enabler. He's one of those people who has never stood anywhere to in fact condemn anything that Jammeh has done before.
Well, if they say that, it's nothing new, but Esa Fall was a Jammeh enabler too. Esa was part of the commissions when the soldiers came in '94, one of the commissions that went into to probe into the activities of the public corporation. So he was also there. Who was not an enabler here? They know their uncles and their aunties were there, but they would not mention them, but they would mention Momodou Sabally. I am not hiding the fact that I worked under Jammeh. Fine, I made some mistakes, just like anybody anywhere who works in government makes mistakes, and I apologize for that. But I'm not apologizing to anybody for working for my country. So it's just pettiness, and they have sacred cows in this country. You can criticize certain people, but some people, it's the animal farm that I accuse Barrow of, and they label him that. They're equally guilty. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. People criticize Hussein Udabo. People insult Mama Kande. But they don't make any fuss about that. Who is Esa Fall? He's a citizen like any other person. If he wants to get into public office, he has a right. I respect it. I have a right to have an opinion, and nothing will change that, because nobody can cage me.
So how is grassroots politics going on right now? I know that, first of all, let's talk about, because I know if there is anything that you are good at is bringing people to the UDP. So there is always video of Sabally bringing someone cross-captain from another. What position are you going to give me? Because if you give me the position of lieutenant, I am going to Abdouilan you.
Media advisor.
I am going to Abdouilan you.
Honorary advisor for strategic communication. That's the latest title in town.
But how is grassroots politics going on
really
there?
Exciting, really amazing, man. I'm like, I'm in the zone, if you know what that means. Like, it's like I'm in heaven, going to these rural areas, talking to people, understanding their problem, speaking to their language, touching their hearts, and them coming over to the UDP. It's one of the most exciting things I've ever done. Every day I'm getting calls, people wanting to come to UDP. They want to meet me. They want me to go and attend their meetings. It's really, really fantastic. UDP is, the growth is spreading like wildfire. We're taking over this country on Hussein Udabo, December 5th.
So you've really become one of the known faces of the UDP. And sometimes you will find critics saying that, well, Sabally has hijacked the UDP. How do you respond?
Well, I think, okay, well, people can have their petty opinions here and there, and that's normal. Like, even if I dance on water, some people will say, Sabally Munyo Reyak Punda. But the face of UDP is His Excellency, the Honorable Lawyer Alaji Hussein Udabo, Yakumba Jaite, Mayor Rohilo, Mayor Talib Bensouda, and you have a lot of other prominent people. I am just one of the mix. It's just that I have a huge social media presence, and you know my interactions with the media. I have an open door policy. If you call me anywhere, I'll come and answer to you. Ideally, I would not have done an interview today, but if Fatu Network calls me, I have to answer. I think that's it. But UDP, if there is anybody who is the face and soul and heart and body of the UDP, that is the President in waiting, His Excellency, the Honorable Lawyer Alaji Hussein Udabo. And all my campaign, like I said in an interview prior, my greatest asset in my campaign, in penetrating the grassroots and bringing people to the UDP, it is about the competence, the character, the lineage, and everything about His Excellency Alaji Hussein Udabo, his track record in touching the lives of Gambians, even before he went into politics. We have a gold mine, we can never exhaust it.
What does this election mean for the UDP?
Well, it means a lot, because really UDP was shortchanged, betrayed, and thrown under the bus after fighting for 25 years based on principle, democracy, rule of law, freedom of speech. UDP practically, I mean, the tree of New Gambia was watered by the blood and sweat of UDP members. And for UDP to come and spearhead that change, and you have somebody come in in the person of Adama Barrow, who was not even a known figure in UDP, to take over that change and to betray a whole nation from the 3 years issue to the 5 years issue to now he's saying 15 years. Like destroying a whole constitution worth more than $100 million is just for his personal benefit and starting to trample on the rights of people, siphoning the resources of the nation. And UDP, if you know UDP and Ousainou Darboe, one of the greatest things to have ever come, that would have ever come out of this transition would be a constitution that guarantees freedom of speech, freedom of association, freedom of assembly, and freedom of everything, and guaranteeing the rights of citizens and protecting the resources. Adama Barrow and his gang of squirrels, they trample on that for their personal benefit. UDP has been cheated, shortchanged. So UDP cannot fight for 25 years and allow one person to try to derail that whole chain. No, the fight has to go on. His Excellency the Alaji Lawyer Ousainou Darboe, Her Excellency Aji Amseka, Aji Amunda Oyabo, Nogo Njai, Fatou Kamara, and others will continue to fight to see that what Single Nyasi envisaged, what Lamin Dambundiba envisaged, what Abu Karamba Gassama, Buba Samura, and Lang Marong, and their legion of heroes, what they fought for, what they envisaged for the better Gambia, based on the sound principles of a sound constitution, of freedom, of law and order. These people will make sure that will that these people left here is implemented to the letter. So it's not a joke.
Your message to the Gambian people?
Vote for UDP. His Excellency Alaji Ousainou Darboe is the best candidate in the ring. You can't compete him. They're all jokers, the others.
Thank you very much for
Thanks
coming
for
to the show. Thank you very much. And now move